Today, some Redditors share some wild confessions related to their weddings. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, I caught my husband talking about me. Just as the title says, I caught my husband of 10 plus years talking about me. I had a day planned with the girls. I asked him weeks in advance to take care of the kid. If he had plans, we could arrange for a sitter. The day comes and he planned to do things with his friends and the kid. The day was awful, lots of rain, they had to cancel their activity midway. He calls that he's dropping the kid off. I told him no, that was not the deal. I told him to go and do something else, to go to an indoor park or something. What am I going to do with my friends? I don't give a freak. This is a day for me, a planned day. You can figure it out. I get a call not 30 seconds later. I figure he's going to talk to me again about dropping the kid off. All I hear is him talking. My husband doesn't answer to my hello, and then suddenly I hear, I can't stand OP. She's so annoying, I just can't stand her. He then tells Matt, one of his friends, you better go and find yourself a young wife, so when I leave my wife, then we can… And then I hear silence. At this point, he notices the call. I say, what? And he tries to play dumb. He ended up cutting his day short and bringing the kid home to me while staying in the bedroom. I had to fake it through my day with my girlfriends. I had to include my kid in, and I'm just broken. I got mad, cried, and now I'm numb. Something broke inside of me. I can't see what I saw in this man. I can't stand to think of the next time I have to see his friends, all the vile words he said, the disrespect. Is this the first time? I doubt it. The humiliation I feel has no end. He keeps groveling. I got I F up flowers and lame excuses and apologies. I see him and I have nothing left on my cup. It is empty. We've had a rough time last year, but I'm at my lowest right now. I am broke and I can't make it on my own at the moment. We split all expenses, but I wish I could. I wish splitting up would not hurt my kid. They're a big fan of daddy. This is it. Maybe a stupid tale, but it is my heck. I am so done and I don't know what to do. I just wanted to tell someone, anyone. I just feel like how could it not be like some kind of karmatic revenge that this guy accidentally butt dials and the truth is revealed to OP. It certainly hurts and it really makes things more complicated for OP, but like at the same time, at least you know, right? Like realistically, he could have gotten away with blabbing to his friends like this and OP may have never have known. All I can say in a situation like this is leaving him may hurt the kid, but if staying with him hurts you and even potentially the relationship you have with your kid, I mean, is that not also going to hurt the kid at some point? Kristen242008 commented, staying for the kids helps no one, not even said kids. They can tell that something isn't right. It's better to come from a broken home rather than live in one. If you stay with him, this is the example you're setting for your kid. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy Redditor confessions, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, I heard the collision and it's eating at me. January 29th, for those that are unaware, an American Airlines Express jet collided with a Black Hawk helicopter, and the media kept saying the collision happened at 9 o'clock and they finally got their sources right. I was walking to my car and I heard a boom. I didn't know what it was, but I saw the first responders arriving and all the planes diverting that were up in the air trying to land. Originally, I just thought that there was an emergency on a plane that was sitting on the tarmac waiting for takeoff and that's why the planes were diverting. But now I realize the boom I heard was the collision between the helicopter and the plane. I sat and watched first responders travel on the tarmac. As I drove through the city, I watched and heard more first responders head to the airport. My head was on a swivel, just trying not to get in the way as I drove myself home. Someone posted a screenshot of the tail number for the flight and it says it landed at DCA, and that's when I finally cried, because truly they didn't. Update: hi all, my workday is almost over. The media has been all over the airport. They did another pop-up media coverage about 15 minutes ago. My job's offering grief counseling for the next few days. The passenger flow has been steady and very calm. Nobody being grouchy or trying to pick a fight. Sadly, I cannot escape the news coverage of it as it's been on the TV all day. I'm being as strong as I possibly can be moving through the day. Another update, I reached out to my job and got grief counseling. It was a huge weight off my shoulders. I am currently very reserved around emergency vehicles, and the counselor said it'll be something that I readjust to in due time. I can't really imagine how much this could really impact you, even if you're not in like close enough proximity where you were like an eyewitness to it. Like hearing something so vivid like that and knowing what it was, and especially if you work in an environment that is pretty darn close to it or in the same field, which it sounds like OP does, how that's going to stick with you. Crap Posts over 9,000 commented, OP, take care of yourself. How to deal with or not deal with something like this varies wildly person to person. Some folks need time, others find comfort in routine. Do what feels right for you. Everybody, Reagan is a complicated airport for pilots and could really use a physical expansion to allow for some simpler flight paths. Far from unsafe, but far from an easy airport to fly. Between the tight quarters, busy airspace, and the restricted airspaces in the vicinity, it is much easier for a small issue to become a big one. The fact that they would have to create the land within a river makes expansion really difficult, unfortunately. Online flight trackers, as a matter of design, fill in data gaps with planned flight data. If they didn't, then nothing would ever actually land at some airports because terrain or structures block the ADS-B at low altitude. But it has the side effect that the site will show a flight continuing as scheduled in events such as this. Not a conspiracy, just the site trying to make sure it shows reasonable data or reasonable estimates the majority of the time. If they have good ADS-B data being sent, and there's a ground station on their networks in the vicinity, you can often watch an incident in real time. If they're not in the vicinity of a receiver or something stops the ADS-B transmissions, then the site interpolates from the last data versus the scheduled flight. Our next story is, I just found out my best friend has been using me for years. I, 27-year-old female, just found out that my so-called best friend, 28-year-old female, has been using me for years, and I feel like an absolute idiot. We've been close since college, inseparable. Or so I thought. I've always been the one planning trips, offering emotional support, and even covering her when she was short on cash. I never really kept track because, well, she was my best friend. But last night, I overheard her talking to another friend at a party, laughing about how I'm her safety net and that she doesn't have to try in our friendship because I'll always be there. She literally said, "Why would I put in an effort when she does everything for me?" I left the party without saying a word. Now I'm sitting here questioning our entire friendship. Do I confront her? Cut her off? Or am I overreacting? Has anyone else gone through something like this? I feel so stupid. I'm curious if you guys agree with me. I don't know what it says about me, but I feel like the first half of what she said actually doesn't bother me. The whole, oh, they're my safety net, I don't even have to try in our friendship because they'll always be there. Like, I see that as kind of a positive, like one of those friendships where you might go a few weeks without talking to them, and when you do talk to them, it's like you never even stopped. I think, obviously, the real problem here is at the end when they say, "Why would I put in the effort when she does everything for me?" That's the problem, because she is advertising that this is a one-way friendship. Demahead Soul 84 commented, "I've, 40-year-old female, had friendships like that a few times. In my experience, it's better to just cut them off. They'll never repay you, not that you ever expect that, and they'll never reciprocate in the relationship. If you try talking to them, they will twist everything and make you think you're crazy. Probably something like, 'I didn't mean it like that, you're overreacting, I was drunk or high or whatever, I didn't mean it.' Flat out deny it, make you feel like the bad guy, or manipulate you so they can continue to take advantage of your good nature. There will be backlash. Seeing as you're still young and I assume you have mutual friends, try to just distance yourself from her. When she asks for money or claims that she's short, tell her you're broke. If she wants to go out, make an excuse. She will eventually get the idea and backlash won't be as bad." Our next story is, my husband left our 5-year-old and 9-month-old home alone and refuses to explain why. My husband's 43 and I'm 31. We've been married for 7 years and have a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old. My husband left our children alone and he refuses to admit to it or tell me where he was. I'm furious, enraged, and my husband keeps telling me I'm making a big deal about nothing. This just happened this weekend. I'm on the board of directors for a local nonprofit organization. I had to attend an event for that organization this past Saturday and I was gone for most of the day. My husband was supposed to be home with our kids. I texted him a few times and he responded. When I called around midday, he didn't respond, but that's not very unusual. Shortly after that, I got a call from my mom. She said my son had just called her, and when she asked him what he and his sister were doing, he said they were both watching TV. When she asked where their dad was, he said his dad wasn't there. My mom asked him several other questions, and from my son's responses, she believed he was telling the truth and that my husband wasn't there and that there was no adult there at all. She said he didn't seem scared to be alone or worried about where his dad was at. He just called her to chat. He has a tablet designed for children with pre-programmed contacts that he can call. It's only a few people, just family members. I left the event immediately and began texting and calling my husband repeatedly. He didn't respond to my first several attempts. It took him about 10 minutes, I was halfway home at that point, to respond. I was so confused, so worried, really mad, and I asked him where he was. He said he was at home. I told him our son had just told his grandmother that he was home alone with his baby sister watching TV about 15 minutes ago. My husband denied it, and I told him I was too upset to talk and drive. When I got home, I checked on the kids right away, and they were both fine. I asked my husband again, where was he? He said he was home the entire time. He doesn't know what our son was talking about, but he must have just been confused since he had gone to the basement to do some laundry. I ran down to the basement. It was the same load of laundry I'd thrown in the dryer the night before. He didn't do any laundry when I was gone. I asked my husband why my son would be confused about whether his dad was home or not. Where in our home would he have gone, and how long for our son to think his dad wasn't home? That doesn't make sense with a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old. You wouldn't leave them unattended that long. Why was he nowhere to be found when my mom asked my son to go check certain areas of the house? I begged my husband to just admit it, to stop treating me like an idiot, and to stop accusing our son of lying. Just tell me the truth, because being lied to right to my face is so incredibly maddening. He insists he was home, but he can't come up with any believable story of where he was at or what he was doing during that time. The way he answers me when I ask him about this and demand truthful answers is so dismissive. When I tell him, "You left our children alone," he quickly says, "No, I didn't." So anyway, he says I'm overreacting and letting our son's imagination drive me crazy. I am convinced he was gone. We don't have a Ring camera, but at least one of our neighbors does. I'm so upset about this that I'm tempted to ask our neighbor for the Ring footage. I had to go out to my car and scream and cry because I got so upset. Of course, I didn't want my kids to see the reaction. I can't put into words how upset I am about the fact that I know he must have really left them alone, but have no proof, and I'm being treated like I'm just a paranoid nutcase of a mother or woman by him. I'm certainly not doubting OP, and if they can get that Ring footage, I certainly think it's worth it just to be able to rule it out completely. That said, with the smallest grain possible, is it not possible that the 5-year-old did have a bit of an imagination here? I guess the thing is, the mom literally had the kid check places of the house. And the lack of any actual reasonable excuse? I mean, how can you not believe that he's lying? Chair commented, "Get the Ring camera footage, that way you have proof either way. There's nothing wrong with getting some footage. Just tell your neighbor that a package was stolen and you just want to see if someone stole it. Or you just wondered what time your husband left that day. Don't have to explain it, just get the info. That's the only way to end this dispute. You'll know if he was lying, and if he can prove he is lying to you, maybe he'll come clean. Even if not, you know you're not crazy and he can't say you are. I know this is Reddit, everyone will have their theories, but this is the only way to find the truth. Our next story is, I have no regrets about moving my intellectually disabled brother into a group home. I am so tired of people trying to villainize my parents and me for moving my brother into a group home. Would you let an extremely violent 6-foot-tall adult man live in your house? Even after he attempted to strangle you while you were driving, then later did the same to another one of your family members? You think I, a pregnant woman, should let that man in my home? Yes, he is their son. Yes, he is my brother, but he's also a dangerous adult who needs 24/7 care. He cannot be taken out in public or be around children, not just because of his violence, but because he will not stop touching himself. We know he only does because it feels good and not because he's some type of predator, but the public doesn't, nor should they have to be exposed to it. Placing him in a group home was the best thing for him. Expecting my parents and siblings to live under his tyranny for the rest of their lives is unreasonable. No amount of medication, therapy, or treatment will fix his missing chromosome. Most of the judgment comes from people who met him before puberty, when he was a friendly, kind, small child. That's not who he is anymore. He's an adult who has violent meltdowns when he's not allowed to eat an entire jar of gummy vitamins. It's the 1-year anniversary of when we finally got him in a group home, and in this year, I've watched the light coming back to my parents' and siblings' eyes. My father's depression is gone, my family can go out in public again, they can go to movies, the park, restaurants, church, and anywhere else as a whole because no one else has to be the person that stays home with him. My brother is better behaved, but he has caregivers who aren't burdened by him 24/7. They're better equipped to deal with him because they only have to for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Also, since there's multiple different people taking care of him, he is less hateful to them. So I certainly do think it's a bit of a sensitive topic, but I think OP's pretty valid in how they feel here. I mean, foremost, because it's not like it's OP's responsibility to in any way actually take care of this guy. Even if they are your brother, I think that's a burden that's unfair to just expect anybody to have to take on. Is that too callous of me? Monique commented, I worked on a helpline and talked to people in similar situations, OP. Elderly people who were saying things like, my husband with dementia tried to violently SA me the other day. I don't want to give up on him, but I have osteoporosis. Like she was begging for permission for a break. Women saying that their autistic son had broken bones and that they loved him but couldn't cope anymore, and the other kids were living in terror. And all of these people felt entirely unnecessary shame for taking the reasonable and obviously necessary decision. You did the right thing and should have no regrets. You'll settle down into familiar surroundings and a routine, and you and other people will be safe. Our next story is, I ruined 6 lives, including mine, with one dumb decision. Back in August, I drove into a shallow pool and ended up breaking my neck. I'm a C2 quadriplegic because of that, and I need 24/7 care. I hate myself. I'm a burden on my whole family. My parents have to work almost the whole day to be able to support my special needs. My brother can't go to the school he wants because he has to take care of me, and my grandparents have to stay with me while my brother isn't home. With one dumb decision, I ruined the lives of 6 people. I feel freaking horrible. I'm not good in any way. I'm not a good sister, not a good daughter, not a good granddaughter. It would be better for everyone if I just don't wake up one morning. You know, in complete honesty, I feel like I would be in the exact same situation. I would absolutely hate feeling like I'm some major burden on the people around me. To feel like when your relative wakes up and they see you or think of you, the first thing they think of must be some kind of, oh, here we go again. I think maybe something to hang on to is more so the fact that if they didn't want to, and if they didn't want to be there for you and do those things for you, they don't have to. They just wouldn't be there. They do so because they want to. They clearly want OP to be a part of their lives and have as good a quality of life as possible given the circumstances. Interesting Bed 5451 commented, I'm gonna talk to you as a mom, okay? You freaked up. You did. You can't change it. No one can. But you can change your attitude. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and start figuring it out. See if you can get outside caregivers in to relieve the burden on your family, especially your brother. My son is disabled. Differently than you, that's true, but he requires full-time care for everything. Nearly the same as you. None of us begrudge him that. Not even his sister. However, when she was given the opportunity to leave the nest and start her life, we didn't let his needs imprison her. That would breed resentment and is unfair to her, on top of a life of unfairness. You have the ability to find a way through outside caregivers to grant your brother the freedom to go to college. If he chooses to stay, that's his choice to make. Have you applied for SSDI? That'll qualify you for Medicaid, which should also allow for caregiving coverage, given your TBI. If your state doesn't cover that on straight Medicaid, and some don't, look into waivers specific to TBIs. You may have to reach out to a social worker at the hospital you were treated at to get started, but I promise that your family isn't as trapped by your disability as you think. You've just been left alone to deal with it, which is, unfortunately, common. Our next story is, My POS dad slept with my wife and got her pregnant a long time ago. I had a crap show today with a few close friends at my own house. At the end of the party, after everyone left, my dad told me that he needed to confess something that was killing him inside. He first started off by saying that he did a lot of wrong to me and my wife. He hoped that I could forgive him. I was confused as to what he was talking about. I asked what he did that he needed my forgiveness. He said to me that when I was on a business trip, he invited my wife. My wife and dad got together one day and they ended up doing the thing that led to my wife carrying his baby. I just responded, "What? Is this a joke?" He told me he was being serious and not lying to me. I still couldn't believe what I was hearing. He kept going on and on saying that the baby didn't survive and I couldn't bear to hear it, so I just said, "Stop the BS," and told him to leave my house. I physically pushed him out of my house and I went directly to my bedroom. My wife wasn't at my birthday party at all as she was hanging out with her girls. We were planning to go for a date night later, but it's not going to happen. My wife doesn't know that my dad confessed to me about their affair. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna look at my wife and ask if this was true or not. After some time, I went downstairs to check the front door, and my dad was still waiting in his car. He was just staring at his steering wheel crying. I really wanted him to go away, wanted to say something, but couldn't because I didn't trust myself to not do something cruel. My wife still hasn't come home yet, and I'm writing this. Thanks, POS Dad, for giving me the best gift ever. I needed it. You are the best dad ever. I mean, I certainly don't understand why the dad would lie about something like that, so I would be willing to believe this did happen. But I do feel like OP needs to talk to their wife and make sure that they get the full truth from them. Because, I don't know, you can't ever really be too sure. That said, I feel for OP because I imagine this feels like their entire world just got picked up and rattled around. Our next story is, I snooped in my fiancé's phone while he was sleeping, and I wish I didn't. So I, 23-year-old female, the other night just had a feeling to check my fiancé's 25-year-old male phone. I'm not sure why, but my intuition was just telling me to check in case. I'm also a nosy bench. Anyway, I decided to check, and I found lots of adult entertainment. Some looked to be older, maybe he saved them a long time ago, but many were recent. Checked his history and he seems to watch almost as much as I do, which is fine. I mean, I watch too, but then as I kept looking in his search history, I saw that while he was in Puerto Rico for a sibling trip, he searched up escorts in Puerto, and I could see he visited at least 2 websites. I also saw links from another date for escorts in DC. Mind you, I just found out yesterday that he went to the strip club without my knowledge while he was there in Puerto Rico and never told me. I had to find out from his sister-in-law because he was going to, according to him, tell me on his own time. Anyway, I don't know how to feel about seeing these searches. Strippers is one thing, but escorts is another. I think your mileage may vary, but if I were in OP's shoes, I think that's the end of the relationship. I feel like him going on his phone and watching whatever, honestly, I feel like a decent majority of people are not going to be too outraged by such a thing. But then I think you start losing the approval of that majority when you bring in something like hiding the fact that he went to the club, and then you just careen straight into the floor when it comes to the topic of trying to find escorts. Like, not only is that cheating, but I would be concerned for my own long-term health. Not only would I break up with them, I would be getting some super-duper STD test. Lulu's girl commented, "Hey, I know this is so difficult. He's your fiancé for a reason, but I want to say some things to make you think objectively. You have emotions invested in this, and that makes it complicated, but hear me out. He had already searched the escorts, meaning he did this without considering you, and that's hurt. Your partner should have you in mind, and this is something to fulfill him sexually. You need to think about if this is something you want for the rest of your life or not. Nothing you do will change him. He made the decision and did it. That's who he is. He can't take it back, and he's shown you that's what he chooses. You can't make him love you enough to not do this again because he should have already loved you enough before doing it. You can't make him see what he did was wrong. He consciously made that decision. You're only going to try to force guilt on him. He wants to tell you on his own timeline? That's putting his feelings before yours. Do you honestly want this for the rest of your life? Not to mention putting your physical health at risk. STDs left untreated can damage your body. He's either too dumb to realize this or doesn't care, and that in itself is horrible. I'm so sorry. Our next story is, why do people think it's emasculating that my girlfriend is the breadwinner of the household? Like, I don't get it. My girlfriend is a successful woman. She studied computer science and is the head of the IT department on a quiet, big local company. And she makes more than I could ever dream of. I currently work at a mini job at a local electronics store 3 times a week, and if I'm not doing that, I stay at home, take care of the household chores, cook something for her, or take care of our pets in the garden. And every time I mention that, people, mainly men, look at me like I'm an alien or something. And my father told me it's a shame that I made myself dependent on a woman. Like, come on. You're the reason my childhood was crappy and now you want to blame me for not being able to have an education like she does? And overall, what is the problem with it? My girlfriend loves me and I love her. I take care of everything around the house, so she doesn't have to when she gets home from work, and she spoils me like crazy. What's the matter with that? As long as we're happy, just do yourself a favor and mind your own business. I would say that OP just needs to continue rocking on and living their best life. It sounds to me like OP's life is so brilliant and loving and so good that is it really worth it to even be so hung up on these people trying to like emasculate OP or say that OP's this or that? I feel like OP's only response to this should be, I wake up and go to sleep every day happy. Can you say the same, Macho Man? Sparkles IB commented, I'm going to give you some advice I'd give a woman in these circumstances. Do not ever make yourself dependent on another person, especially when you're not married. Use your free time to learn a skill that allows you to obtain employment that would support you if you were to ever split up. Or, God forbid, something were to happen to your girlfriend. But emasculating? No. Our next story is, I hate my girlfriend. My girlfriend has, for the past several months, been continually finding every excuse in the dang book to keep hanging out with people who have been obsessively harassing me and making up false accusations to ruin my life. And every single time I try to tell my girlfriend to stop hanging with these dumbos, she just begins crying and threatening to harm because she doesn't know which side to take. These people literally found out where I lived and sent people there to harass me while spreading lies to make people think I was a violent psychopath. I don't think it could be any more clear-cut whose freaking side you're supposed to take in a situation like that. She's literally siding with people who made my life a living heck, and I can't even be mad at her about it, or she'll threaten to unalive herself. I don't mean to be rude or be so blunt, but why is OP still in this relationship? I would begin to wonder if she has ulterior motives. Maybe she wants to keep inviting these people into OP's life. If something like the cops can't help you here, I would sooner cut ties, break the relationship, and maybe even leave town if I have to. Our next story is, I uninvited my father for my wedding. There's been ongoing drama between my father, his affair partner, myself, and my fiancé. They're angry that my fiancé and I want my fiancé's niece to be the flower girl than my father's affair partner's daughter. My fiancé's niece is very excited. My father cheated on my mother and wasn't much in my life. My mother did remarry to my stepfather, who I'm very close with. He'll be walking me down the aisle. My fiancé and I had a long discussion in regards to the wedding and decided to uninvite him. I called him over the phone to let him know and he exploded at me. I ended the call and we haven't spoken since. His affair partner went to social media to complain about the situation and try to make my fiancé and I look bad. Some family is on their side while others are keeping the peace and staying out. My father did give me money to use for the wedding, which I returned right away. My stepfather, fiancé's family, and some extended relatives helped with paying for the wedding. I am heartbroken that I don't have a relationship with my father, but the stress was causing me more problems than I needed. My fiancé and I are definitely trying to move on and look forward to our wedding in October. Honestly, I think this situation is pretty clear-cut. OP already doesn't have a very high opinion of their own father, and OP says, they're causing me stress. It's not worth it at your wedding. Our next story is, I found out that my husband has been cheating on me since our wedding. I found out recently that my husband's been cheating on me since our wedding, which was in October. He and my best friend / bridesmaid were hooking up before the wedding and even after. I found out from a mutual friend that sent me many screenshots. I did expose him to all of our friends and family. His family completely cut him off and want nothing to do with him. My ex-best friend is kicked out of our friend group and being kicked out of the apartment where she lives with 2 of my friends. I did kick my ex out of the house as I'm currently the main one making payments. He's currently living with a friend, but not sure for how long. It's a horrible way to start 2025, but I'm making the best of everything that I can. He's been apologizing constantly, promising that he'll change and showing up at the house uninvited. I have a Ring doorbell that shows him stopping over multiple times a day while I'm at work. The only happiness I have right now is that I'll be picking up a Labrador Retriever puppy in the next week to bring home. I hope everyone else had a great New Year's. I hope 2025 gets better for me. OP then posted, update, I found out my husband has been cheating on me since our wedding. I know many of you wanted an update, and I have a small update for everyone. My stepfather helped with finding me a divorce lawyer, and I'm hoping that everything will move quickly. He kept coming by my house almost every day begging me to give him a second chance. I called the cops each time and I'm getting a restraining order against him. It got even crazier when he tried to come to my workplace, but security would not let him in. I picked up my beautiful girl Hazel and she's the sweetest girl ever. My ex found out about me adopting her and made these crazy social media posts about me. My ex-best friend got so much hate from all of our mutual friends and even her family that she quit her job and is now living in another state. She deleted all her social media and nobody has heard from her. She did send me an apology email explaining everything that happened. My ex is fighting this divorce with his lawyer and trying hard to spin this around on me. The good news is that the house we were going to live in together was purchased by my parents and gifted to me, so he has no say of anything in the house. He has all of his belongings that he had except his PS5, which I gave to him and won't give back. I wish I saw who my ex was before the wedding, but I'm doing better now. I appreciate everyone's kind words. Needless to say, that relationship has been done, run for the hills. Hopefully, in the divorce, OP won't get utterly screwed on this. I would just say, especially when it comes to the dog, make sure that you have those adoption records with your name on them. Dogs are considered property, and somebody that's going to show up at your house every day begging to get a second chance, they seem like the kind of person that may try to get some kind of painful revenge by trying to get possession of the dog. They seem like the kind of person when they realize there's no chance of getting back together that are going to try to hurt you somehow. Having those records of adoption for the dog with your name on them, likely going to help quite a bit. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Reddit confession, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.